Velocity Mooney, peace and blessings. All right, so Mars in the fourth house. Mars MKS in the fourth house. Why is Mars MKS in the fourth? What are the qualities of Mars? What are the qualities of the fourth house, and how do they come together in order to make such a disruptive combination, right? So Mars itself is a warrior. Mars itself is a commander. Mars is a fighter. Mars is in the business of using its fighting ability, using its power to defend itself. Not only defend itself, but to strengthen itself and to be able to take control of his reality, his outside reality, be able to possess certain things, make acquisition, and pretty much empower himself, right? That's the functionalities of Mars, right? And he's the commander, right? The commander or the warrior chief or whatever the fuck you want to call it. This is the guy who uses his weapons, his force to help defend the kingdom. Not only defend the kingdom, uses his weapon, his force, his expertise to go to war with neighboring kingdoms in order to acquire resource. You know what I'm saying? In order to acquire the spoils of war and all the extra shit or whatnot, right? So that's pretty much Mars, right? He's the warrior. The warrior is not an emotional guy. He's not a guy who's caught up in how he feels. The warrior is a guy who is pretty much designed to go into really hard situations and battles, really hard risk like scenarios or whatnot, and have a level mind, have a strategic mindset, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. Get the job done, get the fuck out, right? That's Mars. Now, the fourth house, the fourth house is your mother. It's your home, but it's really your heart space, right? And a huge part of what's in your heart, a huge part of where you feel vulnerable at, you know what I'm saying? Where you feel soft at, a huge part of a huge reason behind your ability to feel soft, vulnerable, to feel at peace, to feel secure, to feel comfortable, and also feel strong while feeling comfortable, right? A huge part of this comes from your upbringing, your childhood upbringing, your relationship with your mother, the knowledge, the nurturing, the emotional cultivation that she put into you, right? Hugging you and, kissing you and fixing your lunch for school and, you know what I'm saying, putting a band-aid on your finger after you scraping it, you know what I'm saying, telling you that you're worthy and, showing up to the school play or whatever the fuck, right? Just mom showing you that you are loved. You know what I'm saying? Mom showing you that, I love you regardless. I'm here for you regardless. You're safe with me. You know what I'm saying? I like spending time with you. Like, like a huge part of the ability to feel strong and to feel calm and to feel at peace within itself comes from those early years of the childhood or whatnot, right? And it it really can make or break the stability of the person up into their adulthood, right? Or how they perform later in life, right? It's not necessarily always the case, but you know what I'm saying? Somebody definitely has a better chance of success if they had a mother that supported them, loved them properly, fed the proper emotional nourishment into them, the proper attention into them, you know what I'm saying? Brought them up right with the right morals, the right education and all these different things and whatnot, send them off to college, you feel me? It's easier for this type of person to succeed versus somebody who might have grew up in the hood. You might have grown up waking up to gunshots and your mama cussing her, your mama cussing her other baby daddy, which is not your daddy, out. Your mama telling you that you ain't shit, you just like your daddy. Your mama constantly beating on you, throwing irons at you and shit, throwing motherfucking frying pans and, kicking you out the house repeatedly and, telling you that you ain't shit, lying on you, punch you in your chest, just completely abusing and neglecting you, and just crippling your sense of self-worth. You feel me? Making it feel like, damn, I'm a child, but I'm pretty much, you know what I'm saying, on my own in this motherfucker, right? You know what I'm saying? Like like pretty much feel like you have to fend for yourself, pretty much feel like you're not safe, you're not secure, you're not protected, you're not valued, you're not none of these things. And it can make it quite difficult for this type of individual to grow up into the life in a stable fashion, in an abundant fashion, right? This type of individual could probably turn to the streets, could probably turn to criminality, robbing, killing, stealing, whatever, or homelessness or whatever the fuck, right? But these are just general scenarios. But with Mars in the fourth, Mars is the warrior. Again, the warrior does not like to get bogged down by emotion. You can't be emotional, or you can't be swayed by feeling and heartstring when you're a warrior. You have to be very logical, very strategic, and you know what I'm saying. You have to be very strong in order to survive seemingly impossible situations. But when Mars comes into the fourth house, it shows that there's a lot of trauma in relation to abuse, in relation to harshness, in relation to wrong use of action that this person might have experienced, especially within a childhood, right? It can showcase that for instance, you know what I'm saying? It can showcase like physical abuse, sometimes sexual abuse. And if even if it's not that, it's more so always psychological abuse. You know what I'm saying? Harsh usage of words. Shit that you heard growing up that you probably shouldn't have heard, that could turn you to an individual that embodies a good deal of, I guess you could say, suppressed anger, or what I'm saying, inner intensity that makes it quite hard for you to feel like I can just rest and be comfortable. I don't have to be angry, or I don't have to feel like I'm avoiding some type of trauma, or some type of, um, wantingness to crash out. Right? Mars in the fourth, it could show up in a lot of different ways. It can show up in somebody who's very snappy, somebody who's very volatile at the mouth. Can also show up in somebody who might try to drown the inner anger or the inner fuckery out by maybe, I don't know, seeking drugs, seeking alcohol, right? Seeking food, different comforts and substances that can pretty much push the trauma, or push the anger and all that, down, down below the surface or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But this can get worse and worse, and this can lead to the individual, facing problematic situations like weight gain, depression, you know what I'm saying, loss of purpose, loss of direction, loss of drive, yada yada yada, et cetera, right? Mars in the fourth. When Mars is in the fourth, it's good. It's good for some reason though. It's good. It can be good for like getting your shit together in relation to acquiring property. You know what I'm saying? From the physical standpoint, the comforts and all that shit. You'll probably be great at doing this. You know what I'm saying? Especially if Mars is in a strong sign. Like if from a physical standpoint, the Mars in the fourth is if it's in a strong sign and it's receiving benefic aspects, it's like, yeah, you're really great at getting your house. You know what I'm saying? Is you got your mortgage, you're able to pay your mortgage off, you feel me? You're able to have your vehicle, your two vehicles, you feel me? You're able to take care of the physical front securities, realities, comforts and all that, right? But it's quite difficult to actually dive into the qualities of the fourth house, which are peace, serenity, calm, tranquility, softness, vulnerability, right? You always feel like you have to be on your toes, on your 10. You always feel like you got to go to war and whatnot when Mars is in the fourth house and whatnot. But If I come up with some more shit, I'll drop it in the comments. But that's my general spiel on Mars and the Fourth Velocity.